Namaste everyone. Welcome to Ashwin's Astrology. Today we would be predicting on Karnataka elections 2023 based on candidate list announcements and also on election date and result date. Today I and Madhu would be discussing on both Jaimini and Parashara principles. Welcome Madhu. He is an astrologer with expertise mainly in Jaimini principles. Hi Madhu.
Thank you, Ramya. Hi. Thank you, Ramya, and thank you, Ashwin's Astrology, for giving me this opportunity and this stage. I have seen some of your recent videos and looking forward to more and more interesting Jyotish content. As we all know, today, currently, it's a very interesting period because in few days we are all going to go into the polls to decide the fate of Karnataka, state and Vidhan Sabha elections. Uh, now, so we are looking at this from various perspectives. We will be taking the moment that the two major parties, that is Indian National Congress and the BJP, announced their candidate list, right? And the other perspective we will see is also the very date when the election will be happening, which is when the people will be going out to vote, and secondly, the date when the counting will be done, right? So so we will be looking at this both from Jaimini and Parashara standpoint. So viewers of your channel will be very well familiar with Parashara techniques, which we will of course definitely use. But in Jaimini, right, there is going to be the use of more dynamic karakas or chara karakas, as we call it, right? And the Jaimini system also presents us the advantage of using Aruda Padas or Aruda Lagna. Now, why these things are important, I'll take a moment and speak about that. So, of course, using the traditional Parashara methods, which will be our base, right? We will not forget that, and try to analyze, uh, based both for Indian National Congress and BJP, how the odds are depending on the candidates they've chosen. How will the results likely be based on those two charts using standard approach of Parashara analysis? That is going to be our base. But it is also advantageous if you see the confluence of results from both Parashara and Jaimini, right? And in Jaimini, we also use these Aruda Lagna and Aruda Padas and the influence on those. Why we do this is because, election, quite a big portion of the election results is about perception of these parties, right?
Exactly.
The perception about how their image is, who are the candidates, what good work they have done, or what image they have created, and overall about the party itself. So, so that is how I am also interested to look at it. So we'll cover both these aspects in our analysis. So why don't we start?
Yeah, sure, Madhu. Thank you for the detailed explanation on Gemini part of astrology. And yeah, because our viewers are not familiar with Gemini principles and we don't see many videos regarding that as well. So, someone like you who has a vested interest in Gemini principles and who have spent a lot of time practicing Gemini principles, providing those insights will definitely be favorable for our viewers. Let's begin with it.
Okay. So as we said, first let's look at the promise that these two major parties have when they started their campaign for these elections. This first chart is the moment that, or the date when the Indian National Congress announced its nominations or the candidate list, right? For viewers who are interested, the details are 25th March 2023, 8:19 a.m. in Delhi. So this is the chart we have in front of us. Uh, the first thing that I notice is that it has Aries Lagna with two benefics on the Lagna, but as well as in Rahu Ketu axis. So there's some positive and there's some affliction also. Apart from that, there is also that. The malefics Mars and Saturn are in Upachayas, which is good. Mars being the Lagna Lord himself, right? That's good. Uh, and what else? So now again to also look at it from a Jaimini perspective. See in how in Parashara we see the strength of the Lagna based on Lagna Lord. Similarly, in Jaimini we look at first of all the strength of the Atmakaraka, and also in terms of anything to do with career. So in the context of elections, we also see Amatya Karaka, right? Because elections is all about execution of the strategy. So
Yeah.
there we need to see the Amatya Karaka. Now the Atma Karaka is on the Lagna itself, being a benefic with another benefic Venus, but in Rahu Ketu axis. He Now here's the other thing. The Atma Karaka is in the Lagna getting an aspect by Gnati Karaka Shani. So when I say aspect, this is actually not only a Parashara aspect but also a Jaimini Rashi aspect, right? So when we are looking at Charakarakas in Jaimini, we are also looking at the Rashi aspects. So Saturn, the Gnati Karaka, aspects the Atma Karaka. I'm sorry. So this means what is Gnati Karaka? It is the symbol. It's a representation of uh, impediments, roadblocks, challenges. Right? You can say that the Gnati Karaka symbolizes the sixth, eighth, 12th houses when we look at it from a Parashara standpoint. So this is bound to bring in some impediments and struggles. But apart from that, what else is positive in this chart, right? The Amatya Karaka is no doubt in the 12th house, but with Mercury, another benefic, and Surya, right? And the Amatya Karaka is himself in strong dignity, being in Pisces. Amatya Karaka with Putra Karaka is a Raja Yoga that has to be
Oh,
stated.
that's
It's a
quite
Jaimini
wonderful
Raja
to know
Yoga.
actually. Yeah, Amatya Karaka with Putra Karaka is a wonderful Raj Yoga. Yeah, that's an.
Yeah, but that Raj Yoga happens in 12th house, right?
Oh.
So again, while the Amatya Karaka is strong, which shows that they will be strong with their, let's say, campaigning and their actions towards winning, it need not mean that they will have great favorable luck, right?
Oh,
It
okay.
could, yeah, it need not. But then let's look at what else is positive. Now, if you see here in Leo, there is something called AL, right? That is the Aruda Lagna. So as we said, so one portion of Germany is looking at Karakas and how they are, where they are situated. Um, but the other is what perception does the public have on this party? So while in natives charts or individuals charts, we look at Aruda Lagna as the point where we assess what perception that person creates in the society or in the workplace around them. In this case, it is how perception of Indian National Congress is based on the time and date they announce the candidate list. Right. So Aruda Lagna coming in the fifth house in Leo and aspected by Venus and Moon. So again, to remind, this is the Rashi aspect. So again, there is a mixed kind of perception because you have two benefics, Moon and Venus giving the aspect, but also Rahu and Ketu giving the aspect on the Aruda Lagna. Okay. Then the other thing we see from Aruda Lagna is also the seventh from Aruda Lagna is the opponent. The opponent is Saturn here. Again, very, very strong, which means that their opponents are very strong comparatively, right?
Okay.
Because the Aruda Lagna Lord themselves, Surya, goes to the eighth from the Aruda Lagna, whereas the opponent is located in a very strong way. But yet it is Saturn. So, in a way, that also shows the opponent also will have some mixed luck. Maybe the opponent might be strong eventually, but might face slowness initially.
Okay. So it's a mixed kind of characteristics for both for both ruling party and as well as for opposition party in that case.
Yeah, so in this see current moment we are focusing on Indian National Congress,
Huh,
which is
yeah.
the opposition themselves.
Hmm.
So for this native, which is Indian National Congress, it's kind of mixed results, but it looks like the opponent also will have some impediments and struggles. Okay, so while we are talking about the opponent, maybe we'll just look at who that opponent is. In this case, now why don't you share some thoughts, Ramya, about this chart before we move to BJP?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Madhu. If we look at from Parashari principles, yes, Lagna having two of the benefits, especially the fourth lord, who is the house of throne in the Lagna, is a very auspicious stuff. And as well as Venus, even though Maraka is a unconditional benefit, so second and seventh lord Venus in Lagna is a good one. But because they are afflicted with the Rahu is something, and also in Rahu Ketu axis, this creates some kind of imbalance within the party itself. So the kind of nominations they might have announced, that will create kind of dissatisfaction or some, or will give rise to some kind of internal fights as well. And we can see sixth lord Mercury is debilitated in 12th house, but there is a niche bang also, because 12th house lord, that is Jupiter, is in 12th house itself. And sun is actually, who is the fifth lord, is also with these two planets in 12th house. So a planet like sun, who is karaka for political administration, occupying a trik bhava like 6 8 12 is not favorable. So probably a different time would have been a better time period for INC to announce their nominations. So because they have all the, what to say, the favorable planets like Mercury and Jupiter, who can shower them a good fortune in 12th house. So it's like a wasted time period, wasted benefits actually being in 12th house. And also the Lagna Lord Mars is in 3rd house. He is well placed and he is aspecting the 9th and 10th house. So there is some amount of fortune which would come along the way, and if they are brave enough to pick it up, I think that will definitely favor them.
Hmm.
But Mars aspecting the 6th house, that will give a fierce competition of uh, politics, like it will be a fierce competition with the people, and yeah, with the opponents, and hence it will not be a easy cakewalk for them. Obviously
Right.
there is an aspect of Saturn also on their Lagna, so there will be some amount of gains, but largely because Saturn is Badak also for this Lagna, we can't expect in a large quantity as well. So this is what we can see in from Parashari principle perspective. So there is both mixed actually, because there could be some gains, but they can't get the complete political victory here. And
I
because
noticed one more thing. Sorry, I noticed one more thing that in this chart, the 10th Lord Saturn is also debilitated in the Dashamsha.
oh yeah, yeah, if we considering the Vargas also here, so the strength of 10th lord is pretty weak.
Oh, and then I just noticed the Lagna Lord Venus also is debilitated in Dashamsha.
But Mars is also debilitated. If we see D1 Lagna Lord Mars is, so we having three debilitated lords, doesn't bring down the signification, but somewhere neutralize the good effects which they have it in D1.
Right. So maybe Lagna Lord himself going into third house means they have to probably put a lot of effort to succeed. Hmm. Okay, so I think that way we have looked at this chart both from Parashara and Jaimini aspects. At the end of our video, we will try and do some confluence of our analysis and come out with the final synthesis. But for now, let us proceed towards, since we spoke about the opponent in this case is BJP, and we have drawn up the chart of the day and time that they announced their candidate list, and that is just for the viewers interest. It's 11th of April this year at 9 p.m. at Delhi. So to begin with, the first thing we will notice is again they have the Lagna in Rahu Ketu axis here, with Mercury a benefic in the seventh house. Um, Lagna Lord goes to the eighth house, but again is Swarashi, right? See again here, Lagna Lord, or sorry, Lagna, and I'm speaking first from a Jaimini Charakarakas and Rashi aspect perspective.
Hmm.
Here also, Lagna is aspected by Gnatikaraka. But in this case, that Gnatikaraka is Venus themselves, the Lagna Lord.
Oh.
What does that mean? Is it that they might, be doing some karma which is, impacting them negatively? That's something to watch. Um, Now there is also aspect of a strong Saturn on the Lagna. Saturn is strong, uh, and so that will actually be both, right? A strong Saturn, Putra Karaka aspecting the Lagna, but Saturn is a malefic. So it again shows mixed, because not only is Venus Gnati Karaka but a benefic. Not only is Saturn Putra Karaka but a malefic. So we have malefic, benefic both on the Lagna. Now, just from the Lagna perspective, and looking while we are looking at Jaimini, we take up the Atmakaraka. Atmakaraka is Jupiter and strongly placed in sixth house. And Amatya Karaka is also there. Look at how tightly conjunct they are. So viewers who are interested in Jaimini and have learned a bit of it might recognize that Atmakaraka and Amatya Karaka together is considered the topmost Raja Yoga in Jaimini.
Oh, okay.
But again, like in the other chart, how effective is a Raja Yoga when it happens in the Triksthānas, right? So here, Atmakaraka going into sixth house could show the native, that is in this case BJP, is strongly positioned to triumph over enemies or challenges, right? Because you have a Raja Yoga also in the sixth house. So Jupiter and Sun together. So that is one indication. And then on the Atmakaraka, Amatyakaraka, who are the other influences? There's Mars aspecting and Moon aspecting. So again, a bit of a mixed bag. Then continuing the earlier pattern, we look at Aruda Lagna, right? Now, Aruda Lagna falls in Dhanu Rashi because, so just to cover some basics, if anybody is interested, the Aruda Lagna is nothing but a reflection, right? And the reflection is quite simply calculated by taking for the Aruda Lagna, that is the Aruda of the Lagna itself. You take the Lagna Lord, in this case Venus, you count how many houses from the Lagna that planet has moved. So in this case, 8 houses. And you count the same number of houses from that planet. So when you count 8 houses from Venus, it comes to Dhanu, right? Sagittarius. That is how you see the Lagna. What do we see there? We see moon there. So that is good, right? Because a benefic on the Aruda Lagna shows good perception. However, now you see on the Aruda Lagna, who else is aspecting? You have three planets aspecting: Jupiter, Sun, and Mars. Jupiter, Sun are welcome. Sun aspecting shows that they have they have a good, let's say, political strategy. Jupiter aspecting the Aruda Lagna shows that they have pundits and experts advising them. But it also has Mars aspecting and from the seventh house, right? Which means that they will have to face strong aggressive competition from the enemies, right? That is, seventh house is from the Aruda Lagna is enemy, but also seventh house from the Aruda Lagna could mean the general public, because it's like Aruda Lagna is the perception of the political party, and seventh house is out there, that is the public. So, what does Mars in the seventh from Aruda Lagna show in this context is that the public has some wrath or some anger also about some topics. So, they have to deal with that. What else? Apart from that, would you like to add more from a Parashari standpoint, Ramya?
Yeah, Madhu, I have couple of points. Firstly, if we say from Lagna point of view, in Libra Lagna we have Ketu in it, and again here also it's in Rahu Ketu axis. In INC it was Rahu in the Lagna, and here it is Ketu in the Lagna. So definitely there is some mistake or some loophole which BJP hasn't focused yet, because in the case of Rahu in the Lagna for INC, it will be that they'll be in some kind of illusion, or they will have some kind of confusion about their own plan. They are not clear on what their strategy is. But for Bharatiya Janata Party, it is like they have left out some main point, or there is some loophole which they haven't focused yet. And because Ketu is in the Lagna, because it is in the Venus sign, and also in Rahu's nakshatra, they have some secretive plan which they haven't disclosed. So this appears to be just a tip of iceberg, whatever they have announced the nominations, but they have a hidden agenda or something great motive considering the future. So that's one thing we
Hmm.
can notice. And Lagna Lord Venus is in 8th house, in his own house. So party is aware of the damages and they are trying to fix it, but it is not that easy and it might take a lot of time as well. And 12th lord,
Mm.
who is Mercury, is in 7th house and is afflicted with Rahu, and there are no debilitated planets basically here. So Sun and Jupiter is also in deep conjunction in the same degree, and Jupiter is completely combust, that is around 98%, and in Gandan. So party has taken some great step which is a dangerous move, that we can see, because he Jupiter has combined with 11th lord, so 3-11 combination, and 6th in 6th house. So this is not a normal position, so they have taken some great step which is very difficult to achieve. So the results also would be mixed actually. How well they can, we can see from Mars, who is in 9th house, and he's forming Chandra Mangal Yoga. So they'll be extremely fortunate if they are able to go ahead with their motive without any backing out from it. And 5th lord in 5th house, Saturn aspecting 7th house. So state is mainly focusing on the reaction of opponents. So in each and everything they are focusing on the reaction of what their opponents would do, and then they are able to plan it well. So when Mercury and Rahu is there in 7th house, and that too lies like second lord in 9th house, and aspecting the 4th house and all. So it is advised for opponents also to be very careful on what they speak. So this is something
Hmm.
which I have noted from Bharatiya Janata Party's chart.
Yeah, Lagna Lord going into the eighth. What you said resonates with me. Yes, so they might have some secret move, but yet very confident because Lagna Lord is also strong. Okay, good point.
So, summarizing from the nomination date announced charts of both INC and BJP, we see that Bharatiya Janata Party has little upper hand because of their Lagna and Lagna Lord's position, and with few benefic yogas forming in. But they have to control the damages and they have to look into any loopholes which they haven't focused yet. So, these are certain things which they have to take care of. And coming from
Yeah.
INC perspective, they have to first keep their strategy very clear on what they want to do and how they want to do. And it is always best if they could keep their communication very clear, because Mercury is debilitated for them. So even though it's in Nichbang, they should make sure that whatever communication they do with the public or with the opponents should not damage themselves. So what they speak, they have to be clear and they have to be very careful. So let's, Madhu,
Indeed.
I think we will move it. I think you have any points on, if you want to summarize from Jaimini principles, on what advice you want to give for both the charts, or how you see that.
No, from overall, not just Gemini, but yeah, it looked like both BJP and the INC nomination chart had mixed influences while looking at the Charakarakas and the Aruda Lagna, the perception. And you're right. The Congress party should put a lot of effort. It seems like to solidify whatever gains they have and cut the losses. They had a heavy 12th house. So at the same time, like you said, BJP has some strengths, but they have to watch out not to have self goals, I guess.
Yeah,
uh,
that's very much. We'll continue with the analysis in next video. We'll focus on voting date as well as election result date. Stay tuned. Don't miss our next video.